If you've been following the Baltimore Ravens this season, you already know things have been far from quiet. Drama, rumors, and heated debates have surrounded the team, and once again, all eyes are on Lamar Jackson. The man has been nothing short of electric since he stepped into that quarterback role in Baltimore. But lately, the noise around him has reached a whole new level. It started when some strong accusations surfaced, claims that Lamar tapped out and refused to play when he was supposedly healthy enough to suit up. Yeah, you heard that right. Some people actually believe Lamar Jackson quit on his team. Now, that's a serious statement, especially when you're talking about one of the fiercest competitors in the league. Lamar's never been the kind of player to back down. He's played through pain, carried this team on his shoulders, and has shown time and time again that he bleeds purple and black. So, when a veteran voice in Baltimore sports media dropped that claim, saying he was comfortable asserting Lamar didn't want to play, it stirred up a firestorm. The weird part? He didn't even have a reason why. No real proof, no inside information, just speculation and a shrug. Saying something that heavy without backing it up is reckless. And let's be real, if Lamar says his body isn't ready, then that's that. Nobody knows his body better than he does. You can't expect your franchise quarterback to risk long-term injury just to silence the critics for one Sunday. If the medical staff clears him but he still feels off, that's his call. He's earned that level of trust. But what's wild is how quickly narratives shift when fans or commentators feel frustrated. Suddenly, loyalty gets questioned, and people forget all the times this man has gone out there, put his health on the line, and willed this team to wins they had no business getting. To make things more interesting, the Ravens recently brought in motivational speaker Eric Thomas to address the team. And this wasn't your typical rah-rah locker room speech. He challenged them. He told them flat out that maybe the reason they weren't performing at the level everyone expected was because they came into the season feeling too comfortable, too sure of themselves. They looked at the roster, looked at the hype, and thought success was automatic. That kind of message hits deep, especially for a team that knows it should be sitting at the top of the conference, but has stumbled in moments they should have dominated. Thomas reminded them that talent doesn't guarantee wins. Focus, humility, and hunger do. Lamar echoed that mindset later at the podium, saying it's about taking things 1 week at a time, not getting caught up in what's ahead. And that's exactly what they'll need as they prepare to face Miami. You can tell this one means a little extra to Lamar. The Dolphins matchup isn't just another game. It's a trip home. He loves playing in South Florida. His friends and family fill the stands, and he always shows out when he's back there. So, for him to miss that game, he'd basically have to be out for the season. The Ravens picked up a clutch win against Chicago without him, thanks to Tyler Huntley stepping in and holding things down. That victory kept Baltimore's season alive and gave them momentum heading into this huge week. Now Lamar's off the injury report, full go, and the Ravens are looking to build on that spark. But Miami isn't rolling over either. They're coming off their own impressive win against the Falcons, and both squads are desperate to prove they can be consistent. What's fascinating is how similar these teams' stories have been this season. The Dolphins have had some painful close losses, games where a bounce here or a mistake there completely flipped the outcome. A missed step out of bounds, a late interception, a blown lead. It's been that kind of year. But that loss to the Browns, that one hurt. It forced Miami to take a long look in the mirror, reset their identity, and come out swinging. You could see the shift against Atlanta. They ran the ball with power, changed up their scheme, and finally looked like a team that believed again. That's what makes this upcoming clash so intriguing. On paper, Baltimore should have the edge when they have the ball. Lamar's command of the offense, Derrick Henry's power in the backfield, and playmakers like Zay Flowers spreading the field. It's a nightmare for opposing defenses. But the Ravens' own defensive front has been fighting through injuries and inconsistency. Their sack leader hasn't even played since the second week of the season due to a neck injury that's had everyone worried, not just as fans, but as people. That's how serious it is. And when your head coach gets cryptic about it, you know it's something they're treading carefully around. Even with those setbacks, Baltimore found ways to get pressure last week. Against the Bears, defensive coordinator Zach dialed up more aggressive blitz packages, and it worked. They only logged 1 sack on paper, but they made Caleb Williams' life miserable. Forced grounding calls, hurried throws, disrupted plays. That's the kind of energy they'll need again. Guys like Travis Jones and Mike Green stepped up. And of course, Kyle Van Noy continues to be that timeless veteran presence who just finds ways to make plays no matter how many seasons he's been around. Still, the Ravens know they can't rely solely on flashes of brilliance. Their run defense has improved, but remains one of the league's weakest in yards allowed per carry. If they let Miami's ground game get rolling early, that could spell trouble. The Dolphins proved last week they can mix it up and dictate tempo, and head coach Mike McDaniel isn't afraid to adapt his scheme on the fly. When he added an extra offensive lineman and leaned into gap scheme runs, it gave their offense balance and opened up the play-action game for Tua Tagovailoa. Suddenly, Tua looked comfortable again, getting the ball out faster, finding rhythm, and attacking downfield. And here's where it gets strategic. Without Tyreek Hill, defenses are no longer playing Miami the same way. The two high shells meant to contain the deep threats have been replaced with tighter, more unpredictable looks. That forced Miami to rethink how they attack. They started leaning on timing, precision, and smart route adjustments instead of pure speed. The Dolphins are still dangerous, just in a different way now. That's the chess match waiting to unfold on Sunday. Baltimore's front seven has to disrupt early downs, force second and long, and make Tua uncomfortable. If the Dolphins get into a groove on the ground and start opening up those quick play-action passes, it's going to test every level of the Ravens' defense. For Baltimore, this game isn't just about getting another win. It's about proving their resilience, proving they can respond to criticism, to injuries, to adversity. Lamar Jackson has heard all the talk. The noise about whether he's committed enough, whether he's playing his best football, whether he's still that same elite dual threat he was a few years back. But that's the thing with Lamar. He doesn't do his talking through interviews or social media. He lets his play do it. He's got that chip on his shoulder again. And with this Dolphins matchup being personal, you can bet he's coming out swinging. The Ravens' offense finally looked coherent last week. The play calling made sense. No more confusing goal line sneak attempts when you've got a powerhouse like Derrick Henry right there. They fed their playmakers, let Lamar operate with tempo, and set the tone from the first drive. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken seems to have found a rhythm, and that's crucial as he goes up against a familiar face in Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver, a former Raven who knows that system inside and out. That matchup, Monken versus Weaver, could be one of the deciding factors in this game. Both guys are fiery, both love to outsmart the other side, and both have something to prove. And that's the beauty of this one. Two teams fighting to find their best version of themselves, two fan bases desperate for momentum, and two quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Tua Tagovailoa, trying to silence doubters in their own ways. Baltimore's looking to show that their offense is clicking again, that their defense can get stops when it matters, and that the Ravens are still legitimate contenders in the AFC. Miami, on the other hand, wants to show that their bounce back wasn't a fluke, that they can sustain that energy and stack wins even without their full arsenal. As kickoff approaches, the tension around Baltimore feels different. There's this mix of frustration, pride, and determination in the air, the kind that only comes when a team knows it's standing at a crossroads. Lamar Jackson has dealt with doubt before, plenty of times, but this round feels heavier because it questions his heart, not just his game. That kind of talk can divide a locker room if you let it, but the vibe inside the Ravens facility says otherwise. From what's been seen and heard, the guys are rallying around their quarterback, not turning on him. They know the truth. Lamar has always been the one setting the tone in practice, pushing his teammates, and carrying that swagger that gives the Ravens their edge. When you watch how he interacts with his teammates on the sideline or how he breaks down film during the week, it's clear he's the heartbeat of this team. The critics don't see that. They see missed games and jump to conclusions. But those who've been paying attention know he's built for this kind of adversity. Every time someone tries to write him off, he finds another way to remind the world exactly who he is. That's what makes this upcoming matchup with Miami so exciting. It's the perfect stage for Lamar to send a message. Miami's defense, led by Anthony Weaver, has been up and down all season, trying to find its rhythm after losing key pieces. Weaver's a defensive mind with deep Ravens roots, so there's a bit of a chess match element here. He understands Baltimore's offensive DNA, knows how Lamar likes to attack, and will be looking to disguise coverages and pressure him from all angles. But that can cut both ways. Lamar knows Weaver too. He knows how aggressive he likes to be when he'll send the blitz, and how to exploit the space that leaves behind. Expect Lamar to use that knowledge to manipulate the defense, buying time with his legs, forcing defenders to choose between chasing him or covering their assignments. One of the biggest stories for Baltimore heading into this game is the evolution of their offensive line. They've been inconsistent early on, but recently, they've shown real progress. You can see it in how they protected Tyler Huntley last week and how the run game finally looked cohesive. Derrick Henry running downhill, Justice Hill bouncing outside. It felt like the Ravens rediscovered their offensive identity. When that line gets moving and Lamar can play off the run, this offense becomes almost impossible to contain. But Miami won't make it easy. They've got a front seven that can bring real heat, and even though their secondary has battled injuries, they still have the athletes to close space quickly. The key will be Baltimore's ability to stay balanced. They can't afford to become predictable or rely too heavily on Lamar to make magic on every play. Getting Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews involved early will be crucial, not just for big gains, but to keep the defense honest. Flowers in particular has started to blossom into exactly what the Ravens hoped he'd be, a weapon who can stretch the field, take short passes and turn them into long gains, and set the tone with energy. On the other side, the Ravens' defense has a major challenge ahead. Stopping Tua Tagovailoa when he's in rhythm is no easy task. He's been sharp, decisive, and confident, especially coming off that bounce-back win. Even without Tyreek Hill, he's spreading the ball efficiently, using timing and accuracy to move the chains. The Dolphins' offensive line has improved in protection, and their running game is starting to carry some real weight thanks to that new scheme McDaniel implemented. If the Ravens can't contain the run early, it could open up everything else for Miami. That's why the first quarter is going to be so telling. If Baltimore can generate pressure without having to blitz every down, they'll force Tua to make quicker, tougher reads. That's when mistakes happen. But if they let him get comfortable, quick releases, clean pockets, it could turn into a long afternoon for the Ravens secondary. Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone, and the rest of the defensive backs have to stay disciplined, especially against Miami's motion-heavy offense that loves to confuse defenders and pull safeties out of position. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. Shockwaves are rippling through the AFC as whispers turn into a roar. RIQ WOOLEN, the elusive cornerback who's been turning heads all season, is reportedly heading to the Baltimore Ravens. Sources close to the matter suggest that the deal is done, and Baltimore has just closed what many are calling the island at the back of their defense, a gap that has haunted the Ravens for years. The news has sent fans and pundits into a frenzy. WOOLEN, known for his blistering speed and uncanny instincts in coverage, would instantly elevate a secondary that has been inconsistent, particularly against explosive AFC West offenses. Some analysts are already speculating that this move could tilt the Ravens' defensive balance, giving them a shutdown corner who can shadow the league's top receivers. But the timing is what really fuels the rumor mill. WOOLEN's name has been floating in trade talks and free agency chatter for weeks, yet nothing concrete emerged until now. The suggestion that he's already committed to Baltimore has left rival teams scrambling and fans debating how this might reshape playoff matchups. Is this a strategic masterstroke by the Ravens front office, or a last-minute gamble? Early indicators point to the former, but as with all things in the NFL, nothing is ever truly final until the league gives the green light. What makes this story even juicier is the idea of the so-called island. For years, the Ravens' backfield has relied on stars at safety and corner, but always seemed to have one glaring void that opponents could exploit. If WOOLEN indeed fills that slot, Baltimore could be looking at a new era of defensive dominance, one that rivals some of the most feared secondaries in recent NFL history. Fans are already dreaming of lockdown coverage, highlight reel interceptions, and perhaps a deeper playoff run fueled by a reimagined secondary. Of course, with NFL rumors, skepticism is healthy. No official announcement has been made, yet the buzz is undeniable. Social media is ablaze. Insiders are hinting at late-night negotiations, and fantasy football enthusiasts are already recalculating projections. One thing is clear. If this deal goes through, the Ravens' defense will no longer be just good. They could become downright terrifying. And in the AFC, That's a message every opponent will hear loud and clear. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.